Good morning, YouTubers. This is Clay with Clay's AC and Auto Repair and Clay Motion here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And this is the Clay Way. If this video is helpful, subscribe, click the notifications, share my videos. You can let my videos play while you're working on your stuff. That's also helpful. So what we got today is a 2010 Dodge Journey. And you know, what we're going to do is we're going to give this car a little bit of a check over. And I'm going to go over some of the things on these Dodge Journeys before you buy it, kind of like a little buyer's guide. I'm probably not going to hit every single spot. I'm going to try to, but you know, I may miss a few. In this particular situation with this Dodge Journey, we know it's got bad wheel bearings, so I'm going to go through some stuff that you can do at home to check these cars out so you can spare yourself the expense of taking them to a mechanic. First off, I want you to think about the vehicle that you're buying. If it runs and drives good, it's probably okay. Check engine lights on that are solid are generally emissions related. That's about 80% of the time. So we don't going to worry too much about the check engine light. The check engine light's on in this vehicle. We'll scan it real quick and I'll tell you what that is on for and maybe a possible solution for that. We're not really going to repair anything. I'm just going to show you the problem areas with these particular vehicles. Now this vehicle is for sale by one of the car lots I do work for. One thing I noticed when I popped the hood is it's fairly clean underneath here. A good detail does show a good sign of, you know, care and preparation. And even though they may have paid somebody $100 to detail this automobile, it's difficult to get something that is super trashed out. This vehicle has 140,000 miles on it to get it really clean. One of the other things that I like about looking underneath the hood of this vehicle is this particular here. If somebody's taking the time to write 5.5 quarts on there, that means the oil changes have probably been done and it meant something to them. Maybe it's nothing, but it's a nice little peace of mind. One of the other things that I notice underneath here is these numbers on the support. Now that tells me that this vehicle's been in an accident, and none of this is scripted, and I'm just literally looking at it for the very first time when you guys come underneath here. Now, particularly with these automobiles, they have a tendency to have bad motor mounts. So I'm going to have Jeff get inside the car and we're going to check out the motor mount, and I'm going to explain to you how to do that. And you can do this with somebody helping you in your driveway. While Jeff's getting set to check this this motor mount situation, I'm going to talk about this. Now, if this was in a front end accident, I see replacing parts on a car kind of like replacing an alternator. If there wasn't serious trouble, not a big deal to me. A lot of people they get all bent out of shape because a car was in an accident. Cars get in accidents, it happens. You can get a very good value because you know that information. That gives you a tool to bargain with. In this situation, looking at the corners and the edges of the fenders, I doubt very highly that this had anything serious happen to it. So I'm not really concerned with it. And that wouldn't stop me from purchasing this car. What Jeff has done is he's gotten in the automobile. He's going to start the automobile up. He's going to hold his foot on the brake, his left foot, and he is going to put the vehicle in drive, and he's going to give the engine gas. And if there's a problem, we'll see the engine move up real high, and it's not. Now he's going to put the vehicle in reverse, either way. And he's going to give it a little bit of gas. Now, we don't have any movement in the engine, so we don't have to worry about the motor mounts being bad. Make sure before you perform this procedure, you have somebody who cares about you. I do not think that you should use your baby mama to perform this procedure because it gives her the ability to run you over. Okay, one of the other problems that I know of with these vehicles, the window switches. The master window switch, because the driver's side gets used a lot, there's little plastic pieces underneath the side of there, and they wear down. So if this switch doesn't work, take your finger and put it towards the back of it and push down as you pull it up, and it will work. This is very common with Jeep Liberties and stuff like that. That's one of the other issues. Now we're going to check the wheel. For the people that don't buy cars very often, you're going to look at the seats. The condition of the seats is kind of important, but these particular automobiles have a tendency to wear out on the bolsters on the sides of the edges of the seats. Not a big deal if it's done that. That's not excessive use. That's just common. And some more of the obvious stuff. We want to pull off the oil cap, and we want to check underneath it. And a bad sign that we're looking for, and this doesn't have it, is white underneath there. It's not very common for these to have head gasket issues. What these have is timing chain and timing belt problems, you know, sometimes transmission issues. So you want to inspect the transmission, but you got to remember that this vehicle is a 140,000 mile vehicle. Transmission fluid is not going to look perfect, and if it doesn't look great, it's probably not a cause for concern unless it's shifting kind of erratically. So check your transmission fluid. Now, this particular vehicle has a stupid plug. Now that plug means that the dealership has a special transmission dipstick that they stick in there to check the actual fluid size. We actually have one of them, but you're not going to have that at home, so it's not going to do much good. So you're just going to have to play that one by ear, kind of see how it feels, etc., etc. If it's not feeling right and you don't have a good warm feeling in your stomach, don't buy the car. I'm not saying that you should always go by that, because some people, I've had them look at cars and they are so silly that they just don't get that automobiles, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is still okay. If somebody's doing a good job of selling you the automobile, it's probably a good automobile, because that means that they have confidence in it and they believe in the automobile. If they're kind of rude and standoffish and don't look you in the eye, then more than likely you want to walk away from that person, because they've had things to hide. You've got to read people's body language. If you read the wrong body language from people, hey, go away from the car. Go find something else. There's tens of thousands of cars out there for sale. And Dodge Journey is definitely not my first choice, and it shouldn't be yours. But if you are considering purchasing one of these, they make very nice models of them. And if they're lower mileage, they're okay. I don't really particularly care for them at higher mileage, but they are what they are. Now, in some particular vehicles, you can also take off the oil cap, and you can look down inside the engine and see the valve train. What you want to see when you look down inside the engine and see the valve train is a nice golden brown. You don't want to see black. That tells you that they have not changed the oil. In this particular car, we can't see down inside there, and that's kind of sad, but it is what it is. I would say in that situation, I would just ask the person that's selling it to you. And if it's a car dealership, they probably don't know. Ask them for a Carfax history. It doesn't hurt to have on a Carfax history that it was in a minor accident or even moderate accident. If the vehicle looks and drives, it's good. Now, if you're looking at one of these and it has a serious rumbling or howling noise, okay, there's a couple things it could be. It could be your tires. And you can examine them pretty easily. Right here, we got a little bit of, you can see where the little wear bar is, and it's pretty much flush with the tire tread. That's a sign of terrible tires. Them tires need to be changed. And I would not purchase this car if they did not have at least better than that. I mean, that's ridiculous. Now, generally, when I sell my own cars, I will replace all four of the tires, because I don't want to have anything anybody can complain about. Then that means I don't have to haggle price with people. I don't like to haggle. If you've ever came and bought a car from me, you probably know that. But what I sell is definitely different than anyone else can possibly sell you, because they do not have the abilities that I have, and they don't own a shop like me. So what we're going to do is we want to check the wheel bearings on this vehicle. And how we're going to do that is we are going to take one hand and put it on the spring, and then the other hand, we're going to spin the wheel. Now, of course, in this situation, you need to have it in neutral to be able to do that. And you're also going to want it up on jack stands. We're going to check a couple other things underneath the front end while we have it up. Okay, so after a little bit further examination, we couldn't turn the wheels fast enough. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to recommend, if you got a howling in it, go ahead and put it on 4 jack stands, put it up. And what you're going to do in the rear is I take my hand and I put it over the back of here. Go ahead, Jeff, give it a little bit of gas. And if the wheel bearing is bad, I will literally feel it in my fingertips right through the shock, because the shock, well, in this situation, a strut, is connected directly to the arm. And I would say that these wheel bearings are bad. And it actually has 2, which I suspected when I drove it, which is very unusual for them to have 2 of them. But this has 2 bad wheel bearings in the back and 1 bad wheel bearing up front. So after we've checked the wheel bearings, I presume that both outer wheel bearings are bad. Now, this is kind of not typical for 2 wheel bearings to go bad at the same time. So just to double check myself here in the shop, I'm going to run it up on the lift, and I'm going to put my fingers on the rear differential. Now, if the energy that transfers through my fingers is greater than the energy that transferred to my fingertips in the rear differential, I might go under the assumption that the rear differential is bad. But I don't think I've ever seen that with the Dodge Journey, so I'm not too concerned that that's going to be the issue. Wheel bearings are designed to wear out, and they will wear out. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and look underneath it. Now, we find very common, typical things. This heat shield's rusted, for instance, on the catalytic converter. Not a real big concern because, you know, this car does have 180,000 miles on it. But the one good thing is we don't see a whole lot of leaks, you know, tremendous amounts of oil all over, transmission fluid anywhere. You know, we've got some normal seepage. This could use a new gasket inside here. I don't know that it's going to be anything that we're going to take care of because it's probably not a big deal. And eventually it's going to want a transmission flush and filter. I don't recommend doing transmission flushes and filters ever unless you know the complete history of the automobile and you've done it per the owner's manual specifications. I don't personally do transmission flush and filter unless I've got an issue, and then it's probably already too late, or the vehicle's been brand new, or the customer you know, that's what they want. So I noticed something on the bottom of the exhaust. Now this could just be water splashed up, but I took my old sniffer and I smelt it. It smells like coolant. Not a good thing, but I'm not going to get into that, what of all that could be, but make sure that you're looking for leaks. So I would have to say for the rest of the vehicle, it's in pretty decent condition. Now, if you look at this right here, this actually came off the accordion that is right up there. That wouldn't be a concern for me at all. That's just, you know, it fell off from there and did from there. This webbing actually is like a heat shield in a way, but it's got a heat shield up here, so I'm not too worried about that. Okay, so one of the common problems that we're going to look for is we want to look for bad ball joints, tie rods, etc. What we're going to do is in this situation, we would take our jack and we would put it right here, and we would only jack up one wheel. Now, we don't want to take that all the way off the ground. We only want to raise it up to where it's about ride height. If we raise it all the way up too much, then you're going to bottom out the suspension and your check isn't going to be any good. So once you've got that jacked up, what we want to do is we want to take one hand, put it on the 6 o'clock position, one hand put it on the 12 o'clock position, and wiggle it in and out. Wiggling it in and out is going to tell us, is there something loose in the front end? Now, if it wiggles in and out, it's either a ball joint or a wheel bearing. We're also going to take our hands and check the 3 o'clock and the 8 o'clock position the same exact way. If we have movement with all 4 positions, then more than likely we have a bad wheel bearing. If we have movement in just the 3 o'clock and 8 o'clock position, then we have a bad tie rod or a bad inner tie rod. And what you're going to do is you'll have somebody look behind there at the tie rod and see if it's the inside part of the tie rod wiggling or the outside part of the tie rod wiggling, and that'll determine if you need an inner tie rod or an outer tie rod. If you have wiggles up in the 12 and the 6, then you're going to have somebody look behind there as you're wiggling, or you're going to have them wiggle it for you, and you're going to look at the ball joint. If the ball joint is moving, then you need a new ball joint, and that is the reason that we raised it up off the ground and got it at ride level. So it would take that pressure off the ball joint. If you just jacked it up and you did not jack up the control arm and you just had the wheel hanging free, you won't get a good confirmation on if the wheel bearings or the wheel bearing or the ball joints are bad, because it's got all its pressure applied on the bottom of the tire and it just won't work. So hopefully all that information was helpful and understandable. You'd have to watch some of my other videos to, you know, check for the wheel bearing, you know, if you want to see actually physically see it. But that was a pretty good explanation I gave there. In my opinion on this particular vehicle, it's okay. You know, it's a used car. I misspoke when I said it had 180. It actually only has 140. You know, the little bit of rust that's underneath it's not a big deal. And when I think about these cars, you know, you're going to buy this and drive this thing for 4 to 5 years, and you're going to get rid of it. I would not pay top dollar for it. I probably would pay, if you're looking at an automobile, I'd probably pay somewhere right around clean trade, you know, NADA clean trade, or even possibly a little bit less, just because of the, you know, overall condition of underneath it. Is there anything that needs to be seriously addressed? Well, that transmission pan, you know, I'd like to see that be repaired before I sold it to a customer, but it's not my car, and I don't blame them for not paying the money to have that done. That's probably going to be about $100 bill. So with all of that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and you're a little bit more informed on your pre-owned car purchase. And God bless you guys. Remember, if anyone else can do it, you can do it too. Don't be the next to them, be the first to you. Subscribe, click the notifications. Visit me on Clay's AC and Auto Repair on the Facebook. Have a great day.